the internet. Hello and happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of Enter the Popverse. I am your video producer and host, Ashley Victoria Robinson, and Enter the Popverse is our weekly roundup chat show where we chat all things geeky news going on out there in the world here in the Popverse. And the Popverse, if you didn't know, is a virtual realm created by ReadPop where we are celebrating just the best in TV, movies, and comics. If you like what we're doing here today, if you think maybe you want something more, if you think I want to see everything that you're getting up to all the ding dang time, don't forget that you can always read the full story about this and so much more over at thepopverse.com. While you're over there, why not get yourself a Popverse membership for the full and complete Popverse experience, including fun things like live events that might be going on right this moment. For example, right this very second, in London, England, no less, we have MCM London Comic-Con going off because we said New York Comic-Con isn't enough. Let's do it in another city in a completely different time zone. So there are so many incredible members of Team Popverse running around over in the UK right now. But we're here live. We're talking comics. Hunter Iggy says, Popverse, what's up? What's up, Iggy? The ceiling is up. That's my favorite joke that 6-year-olds tell because that's about where my humor arrested. And because I am a very magical person and because our unofficial co-host is from the UK, my friends, I am happy to report to you that we have a roving reporter, a very special segment coming to you fully jet-lagged, fully live from this United Kingdom. Please join me in putting your hands together in the traditional Enter the Popverse Theater Kid round of applause in welcoming Graham McMillan to the show.
Hi, fully jet-lagged indeed.
How are you, jet lag aside?
Jet lag aside, I've had a good day. We've just finished day one of MCM London here because here it's 6 o'clock at night.
And here it's 10 o'clock in the morning. We love
time
time
on
zone.
the East Coast. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It makes no sense. And let me tell you, for someone who doesn't do math very well, that's really fun.
What have been some of the highlights of your con at the Excel Center so far?
I really enjoyed. We did the Neil Marshall panel. Neil Marshall, and I've entirely forgotten the person he was doing the panel with. They did a short film together. Neil Marshall was producing, but then he was also like, "Oh, and here's a not trailer for my next film," which no one saw coming, and it was great. It was very exciting. I've enjoyed seeing all of the cosplaying that's going on. There are very specific, very unexpected themes happening at the MCM.
Such as
Spider-Man. There's lots of Spider-Mans, and not like all Peter.
No, Spider punks with varying accents.
No, that's just it. They're not all Peter Parkers. There's lots of different types of Spider-Man. There are some Spider punks, but also dinosaurs. You know the inflatable dinosaur outfits?
Yes.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot. And in what might be the greatest dinosaur cosplay moment ever, there was like maybe 6 of them together. And then someone dressed up as John Hammond from Jurassic Park came up and started herding them. Because sure, why not? That was great.
I appreciate that it was John Hammond and not whatever Chris Pratt's character name is from the new one. That it's like classic Jurassic Park.
I can't even remember what his name is.
I always want to call him Owen Wilson, and I know that's not right.
No, it's not. That would be great if Chris Pratt was playing Owen Wilson, but sadly not. No, it's been a fun show, but I am genuinely very jet lagged. I landed here just over 24 hours ago. And literally went from the airport to drop everything off at the hotel straight to the show to help prep. And yeah, I'm tired.
And now
New York was just like a week ago.
Jake Evner, it's Owen Grady. I'm so sorry.
It is Owen Grady. Thank you, Jake. Both of us forgot that.
Clark Bull, esteemed DC publicist, are mock turtlenecks required for London? I want one.
Yes, they are. Clark, you're entirely right.
I'm going to ask you a question that I asked Ewan McGregor at New York Comic Con. Where do you source your sweaters from?
I source my sweaters from wherever I can find them. There are many stores online and off that I will go and see, does that fit? And then certain other people will be like, you look ridiculous in that, and I will not get them. But the ones that pass muster will be achieved. So you can ask me how I make tea for a second. And I was going to say, so in this hotel room, by the way, what do you think is right beside me on the desk of the hotel room? And I hasten to add, I did not bring this.
A cup of coffee. Oh, okay. A really sad-looking kettle, if I can offer a no.
Sure, but it's there, and I have plenty of cups on the other side. I'm fully sourced.
Is
The
it gonna?
British snacks have been bought. The candy has been bought. The chips. I'm all ready.
Okay, what is your go-to English snack so that anybody who is at MCM can also look for that to pick it up?
You know I like the Monster Munch. We have talked about this many times, and the Quavers and the Smoky Bacon Crisps. I did go to the local 7-Eleven style shop yesterday to get some chocolate because that's what you do when you're jet lagged, apparently.
Yes. Anything coming up at MCM over the weekend that you are really looking forward to, or that you want people to be like keeping an eye on for Popverse coverage sake?
We are doing live streams of a
Yes, we
bunch of
certainly
things
are.
starting tomorrow, including the actors from certain shows that we cannot say the names of the shows.
Struckworks.
Yes. However, I am doing on the main stage the Halo voice cast panel,
Hey.
which is, I've got to do math now. It's 1:30 in the afternoon here, which means it's early o'clock in the morning for you guys. But yeah, it's streaming, and then it's going to be on the site.
I would also like to point out that our editor-in-chief, Chris Arrant, is asking Graham to transport food across international borders, which is legal, but as long as it's not fresh fruit, I believe.
Quantities. Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's chocolate bars, and we have discussed this. Oh no, I have a shopping list of things to bring back. It is Popverse has very eclectic chocolate tastes.
I love this for you very, very much. Graham, before I let you go, because it is late there, you are jet lagged, and we have a whole ding dang rest of the show to do. What are you enjoying or geeking out about overseas? Like, what did you watch on the plane, or what are you comfort watching in the hotel?
I watched on the plane. I'm so glad you asked me this. I watched Nolly, which is a miniseries written by Russell T Davies of Doctor Who fame, about a British soap opera star in the 1980s getting fired from her soap. It's a true story. It's based on something that actually happened. Con O'Neill from Our Flag Means Death is in it, and I am not ashamed to say I cried in that final episode.
Oh, Graham!
I believe it's coming on Masterpiece and PBS at some point in the new year. I genuinely recommend it, and not just because I was flying an overnight flight and very tired and apparently emotional. It was great. Yeah, that's what I've been watching.
I would also like to point out that whoever's running the Popverse chat is throwing your socials under the bus and encouraging people to ask you to smuggle back food for them. So because they are doing the good work, I'm going to make you do your favorite thing and say, Graham, where can people follow you on social media?
You can't follow me on social media. I'm in the UK. I'm not even checking social media. I'm Graham M. I'm Graham M on Twitter.
Graham M. Graham, thank you so much for being our unofficial co-host and our special correspondent today.
Internationally, and through time zones.
For daring to do this, because I would have been like, absolutely not. I will not be there. I'm hoping next week we can have stories from surviving MCM.
Yeah, I will still be in the UK at that point. I'll just be in an entirely different part of the UK.
All right, Graham, I'm going to banish you back into the Popverse. Have a great weekend. Bye. So many clicks to do. I hope that was a treat for everyone, because that was a surprise to everybody except me. We haven't had a single episode of Enter the Popverse, including our live panel at New York Comic Con, where Graham was not a part of it. So when we knew that he was going to go to MCM, I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to have him in whatever capacity he could be at. And honestly, considering you flew about 24 hours ago, doing a really good job. Tom Trainer encouraging, stay healthy, Graham. Stay healthy, everyone, particularly if you're Northern Hemisphere folk and it is coming into the fall-winter season. I hope you are all looking after yourselves. Friends, the time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things, of Superman and SANDMAN, and I can't finish out that rhyme because I'm not as good a writer as our guest. You saw his beautiful face on our thumbnail, so please Put your hands together one more time in the traditional Enter the Popverse Theater Kid round of applause and join me in welcoming writer for DC Comics, Disney, Hyperion, Simon & Schuster, Bad Idea, so many more things. You know him from Superman 79, you know him from Wesley Dodds Sandman, and honestly, like a million other things across all of comics. Welcome, Robert Venditti, to the show. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
How are you going today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm sorry I missed Graham. Graham and I go way back. Some of the earliest interviews I ever remember doing in comics were with Graham. So good luck to him over at in London.
I know Graham is one of those people who secretly knows everybody in comics in this very weird and specific way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he just doing interviews. I'm sure it gets that way. You know, I can't imagine how many people he's talked to. Yeah.
So I want to start with a very important question.
Sure.
Superman begins with an S. Sandman begins with an
Yeah.
S. How do you balance writing these two titles at the same time? What is your workflow like?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the gig, right? I mean, that's what monthly comics is like.
Mhm.
You have to juggle multiple projects at once. I mean, those are just two of, I don't even know if I counted. It's got to be 8 different things I'm working on at any given time, you know. For me, I can't ever, like, I can't wake up in the morning and write Sandman and then at lunchtime write Superman or whatever. Like,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna try to put my days together in a way that I'm working on one thing. Ideally, it'll be a whole week. So I'll write a whole issue of Sandman in 5 days, whole
Mhm.
issue of Superman 78, Monday to Friday, whatever. But sometimes, you know, you're forced to juggle, and you're definitely doing a bit of, while you're turning in new script on one thing, you're doing revisions on another thing, but also doing dialogue edits on a PDF for the other thing that's going to the printer. And so it's kind of, I think that's something that a lot of people don't really understand unless you're in it, is sort of the permanent treadmill of content generation that is monthly comics, you know.
I would also love to ask, because Wesley Dodds Sandman is out right now, and these covers are just so stunning. What was your journey like to join the new golden age? How did you come to write this character?
Sure. So I've known the editor, Andrew Marino. We've worked on many projects together over the years, and there's a few characters at DC I haven't had a chance to write that I've always been, you know, really looking for opportunities to work on, and the JSA library is one of them.
Mhm.
And I did do a run on Hawkman that I think, you know, went over well and maybe demonstrated an ability to write a golden age character, you know. And so, you know, Jeff Johns had relaunched New Golden Age and was doing what he was doing with the JSA and with the Stargirl series and things like that. And so DC was looking to maybe add some miniseries to it. And they asked me if I'd be interested in doing one. And I had always had this idea for a Sandman story that's basically the idea we're doing in the book. And, you know, I turned in my pitch, and I was real happy that they chose me to do one of the series, you know, along with the Jay Garrick series that Jeremy is doing, and the Alan Scott series that Tim is doing. So all of us together kind of had a little bit of a retreat where we talked story together. It was all virtual and things like that. And it's been going over really well. So the first issue, I think, sold out in less than a week. So that's really good. I mean, Wesley Dodds Sandman is a character that hasn't really been on the stands in quite a while. So to see people react to it in that way is really nice.
Sold out in less than a week, no big deal. That's what happens when you get a character and you have to write a story that you've been percolating on for a really long time.
A huge piece of the puzzle there is Riley Rossmo on art. Just absolutely outstanding. And I love art that has stylistic flourish to it, you know.
Mhm.
And he's one of the best working today in terms of like an original voice. And I feel like his style really fits the noir, you know, golden age thing that we're going for. You know, we have you know, jazz clubs, and there's people playing instruments and music notes dancing around, and we have dark alleys where Sandman's kind of skulking around, you know, and penthouse apartments and mansions and like all these different settings and things. And Riley's just you know, as we go through the series, you'll see some of the inventive things that he does, and it's just a beautiful book to look at, whether you read it or not. So,
Don't sell yourself short, because I have read a litany of your work, and the writing in Wesley Dodds Sandman is very stylized, and it fits the 1940s setting in such a fun way. And I also think the way it's laid out on the page, it reads very lyrically, even in I've been lucky enough to read issue 2, and there's a pretty cool fight scene. I don't think that's a spoiler for any superhero book at all. And the way that you tell that story with such limited prose is like chef's kiss. Very, very well done, if I can say so
I've
myself.
always wanted to do a noir story.
Mhm.
You know, I growing up, and also, you know, the pulp influences of a character like this. You know, growing up, my grandfather would tell me stories about listening to The Shadow and the Green
Yes.
Hornet and things like that on radio. And I always wanted a chance to do something that was in that style. You know, I don't often do a lot of interior monologue in my stories.
Mhm.
I prefer to try to do everything exteriorly. But when you're doing something noir and it's a detective story, that's something that's kind of can be baked into the genre. And so I'm glad that you're enjoying it, because that's not something I've done a lot. So
Well, you do it with great aplomb and great
thank you.
style. And in Superman 78, you're also writing a certain tone,
Mhm.
homaging a certain style. So I think you're just this kind of chameleon who can do everything. And I'm honestly very, very jealous. But Superman 78 has a new story coming out in November. How many volumes? How many volumes are in you? How many Superman stories are we going to get from you in this
Oh, I
era?
already know what the third one would be. You know, hopefully we get a chance to do it, and then I mean, I could do it forever, honestly. And I have aspirations of doing things much bigger set with that universe as well. But it all
Go
depends. I mean,
on.
the response to the first one has been enormously positive. It's done really well in terms of fan reaction, but also in terms of sales. It's still in hardcover. You know, it hasn't even been done in paperback yet.
Yes.
And there's multiple editions of the hardcover and things. And so I would love to keep doing it forever. You know, I always often say in interviews that I didn't grow up reading comic books. I didn't start reading them until I was in my late 20s. But I was very much somebody who saw the original Reeve Donner films. And that was sort of my introduction to superheroism, the DC universe, the character of Superman, and all those things. And Superman has always been one of my very favorite characters in all of fiction, not just comics. So the opportunity to write Superman was always sort of top of the mountain for me, not even thinking that that particular version of Superman I would ever have a chance to write, because why wouldn't there have already been comics set in the 78 universe before? So when that opportunity came along, I was absolutely thrilled. And I really hope you can feel the joy and the affection for these characters on the page when you read them. For the new story that we're doing, we're going to do kind of a Cold War story. The premise is when Krypton exploded, as we already know from the original Superman 78 film, more than just Superman landing on Earth, there are also bits of kryptonite. We see Lex toy with one of those in the original first movie. So this story has a chunk of kryptonite landing in Soviet Russia, and they then use that over the decades to try to create their own super soldier to counteract Superman, and that's where the Superman 78 version of Metallo comes from. So he's an armored soldier, and the armor is powered by this chunk of kryptonite. And you know, we get sort of that classic 70s, 80s, you know, Cold War type story that was so prevalent in a lot of films of that era.
And it's not just me. PD Pete in the chat is also like, will there be more Superman 78? So people want it. So volume 3 DC, we're going to make it happen. Tom Trainer is asking, how do you feel Superman 78 differs from the mainline universe character? Good question, Tom.
Yeah, so the to me, the best part about it is the extent to which you're not beholden to the continuity going all the way back to, you know, the 1930s, right?
Mhm.
So, for example, in the first series, and I guess I'll say some spoilers, I don't know, but like, I mean, it's been out,
Everyone get your phones
for a
out.
while. So if you haven't read it by now, I'm sorry. But like in the first series, you know, DC said that all they told me was they want to do a Brainiac story.
Yeah.
And so my thought was, what if just before Krypton exploded, Brainiac took, you know, Kandor, and in Kandor was, you know, Lara and Jor-El, and they've been alive all this time trapped in Brainiac's bottle, and Superman gets captured and is put back in the bottle with his parents, now has to choose between these two worlds. You know, it's something you can never do in the comics, because we know from the comics that Lara and Jor-El haven't survived and such and such, such and such. So it's very freeing in the sense that all you have to know continuity wise are those 4 films. And I even watched the Supergirl film, and then you know, and sort of everything's on the table, and you can kind of obviously be inspired by a lot of what happened in the comic books all along, but have the freedom to do it within the realm of those films and really kind of do a lot of things that you wouldn't have a chance to do otherwise, you know.
And Popverse taking advantage of our ability to be in the chat, asking, could Superman 78 ever cross over with other books like Batman 89? Ooh.
Yes. So I would love to do I would love to do a whole Justice League, you know, of all of that stuff. Again, who knows if we ever get to those things, but I certainly have made my interest in that known. And I'd love to do a story like that someday. So yeah, Wilfredo Torres did a nice little nod in the original Superman 78 series where you see Bruce Wayne on the cover of a newspaper. And so I love the Tim Burton Batman films as well. I loved what they did with the Batman 89 series. So I would love a chance to work with both characters together, but we'll have to see, I guess, where things go. And hopefully the series keeps selling well, and that's ultimately what will make them want to do more of them, you know.
I also want to say that that's at DC Official and at Robert Venditti. If you want to make sure that everybody knows who we want on this and this book that we want to make happen. I want to ask you too about getting to play in a toy box as well known as this particular Superman universe. How do you go about deciding which characters that we're familiar with you're going to pick and choose to include in your story? Because I don't think this is a spoiler, but like there's some awesome Lois Lane action in the first.
Yeah, I mean, there's some that you got to have, right? I mean, you got to have Lois, you got to have Perry, you got to have Jimmy. To me, you got to have Lex, you know. But from there, you're really thinking about what works best for story. And again, an example of that would be Lara and Jor-El. When I sat down and tried to think about, you know, obviously there's no way to know, but if I'm thinking about what would Donner have been going towards, you know, it stood out to me how much time he spent with Lara and Jor-El, even in Superman 2, putting those actors on screen and having moments with the character. And so it was like, what was he working towards? You know, him and Mario Puzo are excellent storytellers, and so it wouldn't be something I would think offhanded. So how would they have used those characters? And so there's an opportunity to bring them in, you know. And I don't certainly want to force anything. I don't want to do anything that's just like for the sake of an Easter egg or a you know, cheap laugh or whatever, you know what I mean? But if it fits the story, certainly have opportunity to do those and want to do it every chance I get. But, you know, I would say Lois, Lex, and Clark Superman are the three, you know, like I don't know that you can have a good Superman film without those three in some capacity, you know.
They're your triumvirate.
Yeah, and a lot of it goes to the Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve and Gene Hackman, you know, just such iconic versions of those characters to where I think if you go anywhere in the world, even today, when people think of Superman, they probably think of Christopher Reeve more than anything else, you know? And again, that's the Superman that I grew up on. And so it says something that those characters were able to leave such a stamp, those actors were able to leave such a stamp on the characters, you know, almost 50 years later, that they still endure and are still sort of that gold standard, you know.
PD Pete paying you a lovely compliment in the chat. I love that you had Superman throw his S again, and after waiting all these years, there's still no explanation as to what the heck that thing is.
No, wasn't aware that was going to be controversial. You know? But I was like, how do I not do that? Right? To me, I remember being in the theater and seeing that moment, and it just blew my mind off. Like I was like, what is that? That's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I never read a Superman comic, you know, but I know he tears open his shirt. I know the basics of Superman, but when he threw the S, you know, and so when it got a chance to do the comic, it was something I definitely wanted to do. And Wilfredo felt very happy as well about it. But then that issue came out and it was this whole thing about, I can't believe you did that. And how does it make sense and whatever. And it's just like, man, I don't know. You know, some people were really, you know, PDP, you know, I'm with you. Some people were really excited about it. Some people were very sort of negative about it. But to me, it's all part of the same universe. It's all established continuity. And so I set my stories, not that it's definitive and that it needs to be this way, but in my
it is. That's what we're saying.
In my headcanon, it happens after Superman 2 and before Superman 3 are where my stories take place. So the S is cellophane S is part of it, and I was only too happy to do it. So
I do think there is a certain amount in superhero stories in particular where you just have to go comics.
Yeah, but also I think you're exactly right, and I think that's true of the films as well. And I think there's that joy and that sort of, you know, whimsy and other examples of it. You know, Tim Burton's Batman being another example, but also the Batman the animated series and the way it just embraced the fun and the joy of the DCU and the villains that they chose, and like the things that they would lean into, and bringing Harley Quinn in and things like that. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's sort of what has always appealed to me about the DC universe. And we're getting into, a question of aesthetics here and things like that, right? So I'm not discounting other stories that are, more serious, and I love those stories to read as well. But for me, as far as what I like to write, it's things that embrace the bright and the hopeful and the fun and the joy of the DC universe. I think that's what's always sort of defined the DCU to me, and it's what draws me to characters like the JSA. Or I would love to write Nightwing, but not really so much Batman, because Nightwing is, to me, the bright and hopeful character of the Bat family, and so that's just the stuff that I've always been drawn to, and it's what I like to do in the comics. And I understand it's not for everybody, but it's what I like. So,
Robert, that was so beautiful. I'm like very emotional now hearing you talk about all your love. And I would love to ask you the final question that we ask everybody who's our guest here in the Popverse, which is, what are you geeking out about right now that you're not working on? So,
oh gosh, I'm not
no more
working.
Superman talk.
Yeah. So, what am I geeking out about that I'm not working on? Gosh, I do so much time working. So, I'm streaming the new series of. Oh, I just watched all of Justified. I had never seen Justified in my whole life, but was a big Deadwood fan, and so I just watched all of Justified like last month. Absolutely loved it. It was amazing. I actually watched the new HBO movie first, and then was like, that was really cool. Let me go back and see how we got there. So really enjoyed that. As far as what I'm reading right now, gosh, I don't even know. I'm
in all of your
Golden
infinite
Age
free time.
Yeah, I'm enjoying. Yeah, I'm reading a lot of books about Native American history right now. I guess maybe that's
Awesome.
weird. I don't know.
Amazing.
It's not research for a project or anything. It's just something that I've been reading about. Looking very much forward. I haven't seen Barbie movie yet. Really want to see that. Looking very much forward to Killers of the Flower Moon, which is maybe why I'm reading some of the Native American history stuff before I go watch it. I don't know. Is that good? Is that a good answer?
That's an incredible answer.
My family was watching Moon Knight a couple weeks ago, and they started without me. And I walked through the room when they were on like episode 3, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. So I just kept right on walking because I didn't want to spoil anything, So maybe I'll go back and watch it again at some point. But yeah, there you go. Is that good?
Save it for your next long plane ride. It's like a perfect, if you're going to like the continent, it's a great watch for that time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us again, Robert, and Wesley Sandman out right now. Superman 78 next installment coming in just a couple short weeks. So call your LCS support and follow Robert on all the socials. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Bye. I could have talked to him all day just about the Justice Society. I hope Robert will come back and talk to us about some of his projects in the future. That was such a treat for me. I can tell from everyone's comments that was such a treat for everyone as well. We didn't get to all of these amazing questions, but Popverse is doing a great job answering, and I know we'll have a bunch of fun discourse later on. Okay, friends. We've done convention talk. We've done comics talk. We've got to talk about one more media form before I let everybody go today. So please, one final time this show, put your hands together in the traditional Enter the Popverse Theater Kid round of applause. I can see that he's applauding for himself, and that makes me so, so happy. And welcoming back for his second appearance on Enter the Popverse, our editor-in-chief, Chris Arrant. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Ashley. How are you doing?
I'm so good. How are you?
Doing good. It's me and you here with, I think, the whole team and like everybody else in London this weekend.
Yeah, we're holding it down for literally everyone on Team Popverse. So send caffeine, send good vibes to Chris and I, because come Monday morning, we are going to need it. Chris, you get to do all kinds of cool things as the boss of Popverse, like tell Graham what to do, tell me what to do, pick a bunch of cool content for us to talk about, go to streamings, go to screenings. You get to do a lot of stuff that a lot of people really, really aspire to do, including something you did yesterday. So I want to ask, what is it like to know that you're getting to be a part of fan culture when you get to go to like screenings and events?
I'm I'm excited about it as a fan, but also it comes with a lot of trust. Like they want, like we want to give fans like what they need to know without spoiling it.
Mhm.
Except when it is, unless we do like, we can write about things that happen as long as we give them the warning and things like that. But it's just to communicate what's going on in the film and why I like it and why I might think others like it, or why maybe they won't like it. Like you and I have seen a lot of like movies and TV shows and read a lot of comics that sometimes are for us and sometimes aren't for us. And there's
Yeah.
sometimes it's harder to write about the things we love than to write about the things or talk about the things that we like, I don't really know who the audience is for this. It's not me. But yeah, last night I got to see yesterday I got to see Five Nights at Freddy's, and yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
So we have curated a ton of Five Nights at Freddy's across multiple media content on Popverse to fill, I think, a lot of these different slots of potential audience members that you're talking about. So tell me about your experience with the project.
No spoilers. You'll have to wait like a little bit for that. But like when I saw it, I'd never played the games really, but I was really fascinated by the storytelling. And you don't need to play the games to do it. Like if you've been to Chuck E. Cheese or Showbiz Pizza, that's probably a better like lead in for that. But you don't even really need that. What we saw is like over the past couple of weeks, just the interest in fans about the movie, and then some of us saw the Blumfest at New York Comic Con where they had Fazbear actually come out, and they even have like Five Nights at Freddy's like pizza boxes, which I happened to sneak a couple and sent those back to the office in Norwalk for us. But the movie is really, really good. It has some people from the MCU and from other movies that you might have seen that you're kind of surprised that they're in there. And it's all, but Matthew Lillard, no spoilers, Matthew Lillard from Scream or Hackers or SLC Punk.
Hackers. Oh my God, SLC Punk with Rent's Adam Pascal. What a reference I was not emotionally prepared for this morning.
Yeah, Matthew is really, really great. We had a chance to meet him in person at Emerald City when he was talking about the Scream panel before the strike. Like nobody get upset. He was really amazing in person, and it just seeing him like acting like again like in such a big way is really great.
Do you feel like your ability to interact with this piece of media yesterday, did that up your Halloween spooky season experience? Did it add to the vibe? Did it maybe detract from the vibe?
Definitely added to the vibe. Like I'm wondering now what my costume's going to be. I just got a message, like Ashley, you might have received it too. Like we here at Read Pop and Popverse, if we do meetings on Halloween, we're encouraged to wear our Halloween costumes for Teams meetings. So maybe that's a thing. Wow, look at that.
I'm practicing early. This is how you know that this shirt came from the children's section, because it has an actual mask attached to it.
But yeah,
like my calls like this.
Yeah, like I'm really excited about it, and just kind of the journalist in me was also fascinated how this was a horror movie, but it's PG-13. And at first I thought that was odd, but then really seeing it and understanding what it is, like for a lot of people, this is for like for a lot of kids, this may be their first PG-13, like the first horror movie. And let me say, when I watched it, no spoilers again, but I'm surprised it's a PG-13 movie. Like there's a lot of
interesting
moments. Yeah, there's a lot of very careful cuts that I was go back and rewatching it that I like imagine that it went through several drafts, sending it to the MPAA to make sure they get that PG-13 cut. But yeah, it's really fascinating. For me, it's also somehow like a bookend to Barbie. Like it's like this and like Barbie. They're both based on things that we loved as kids or other people loved as kids, and now we're grown up. And there's these adaptations that are actually good. Like what's the last toy movie that was actually good? Like what's the last video game movie that was actually good? Like I know Ashley, like you and I as comics fans, we've been blessed by like the average quality level for comic book movie adaptations has gotten a lot better since like the 90s.
From the dark days of Blade being the cool. Blade is a very cool movie, but Blade being the coolest movie, not the new one, the old one, the not struck work one.
Yeah. But just that, and seeing like I don't want to say, oh, now like all video game and toy adaptations are going to be great, but just that they really appreciate the story in this. And in the case of Five Nights at Freddy's, they had the creator of the actual game, the source material, be a heavy, heavy, heavy part of this to kind of understand that it's the story. And they translated that over. It was really fascinating.
It's always an interesting discussion around adaptation. And this is kind of the inverse of what we were talking about earlier with Robert doing the Superman 78 adaptation into comics, is like picking and choosing artfully what fans are going to want to see, but also in a way that will help welcome in new fans, because something like this could be super gatekeepy. And it seems like it's done a good job at like throwing open the doors and welcoming everyone to come and die inside.
Yeah, I think what Five Nights at Freddy's did is what was interesting for people getting into the games new. They didn't try to make it eliminate just the people who played the games, but the same things that were interesting about the games. It's a ripoff of Chuck E. Cheese meets horror. Like that's what it is.
The amount of times Chris has used the phrase Chuck E. Cheese in our work communications in the past week is just astronomical as well, just to pull back the curtain on Popverse specifically.
Yes. I got to interview the CEO of Chuck E. Cheese, which is a real position, which is fascinating. But
here, let me pull it up. It's a great feature.
Yeah, but just it's appealing to that and what appealed to people that enjoyed the game. And it's just a concept that can, I don't want to say transcend just the games, but it's a concept that is bigger than just the game if done well. Like I think that the directing is pretty good. I would say the directing on Barbie is definitely better, like much better, but still it's like it does well for someone wanting to watch it. Plus it's out on Peacock now, which for people that have Peacock or something like that can watch it just as part of the thing and not have to go to theaters.
So if anybody needs Chuck E. Cheese content, there is a whole section.
Yes, we have lots
available at thepopverse.com.
Yeah, we are dominating Chuck E. Cheese. If we get enough likes and retweets on this, we'll see about sending Ashley to Chuck E. Cheese next month and
I've never ever been to a Chuck E. Cheese, so if you want to come with me too, that's at Popverse says. Chris, before I ask you our traditional final question, I do want to ask you, if you were to hypothetically offer a rating out of 5, I think my hands don't make a circle, purple Popverse circles, what would you offer?
I'd say for me, it's a solid 4.
Good.
But I think I'll be interested to see what, like some people, it could be a 5 or I am curious, the people that aren't familiar with Chuck E. Cheese, like will the movie land with people? Like are there Chuck E. Cheeses outside of the US? Like are there ones in like Canada?
Yes, there are, but I think they're much, or in my childhood they were certainly fewer. The only one that I knew about was like in Toronto.
Gotcha.
But anymore, I mean, are there Chuck E. Cheeses? How many Chuck E. Cheeses are there anymore? Is this a Casa Bonita situation? Are we going to buy Chuck E. Cheese?
There's still some left. Like the people that are following along live or like later, like if there's a Chuck E. Cheese in your town, please tell us.
Yes. Again, at Popverse says, okay, Chris, this has been a blast. You don't come on the show nearly enough, if I say so personally, because you're busy making sure that we don't all fall apart and emotionally crumble at all times. But what are you geeking out about right now that you're not working on? You work on everything. So
watching the Disney Plus Goosebumps show, about to dive into Fall of the House of Usher. I feel like I'm behind on everybody, but just we've been pretty busy the past couple of weeks. Actually, a little bit. Digging into that, and I'm actually going to be watching some panels from MCM starting as soon as we get off this call. Surprise, like we're filming panels we haven't announced yet. Oh my gosh. So we'll see. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing this weekend and have been doing.
Amazing. Chris, thank you so much for coming back on Enter the Popverse. I'm going to put your lower third up and then I'm going to banish you back and I will talk to you as soon as I'm done broadcasting. Bye! What a treat. 3 friends in one show. I used to really panic when I had 2 people on Enter the Popverse. And now I panic when I don't have people coming to join any segments of Enter the Popverse. So this was really fun. It was so fun to come back and be live with everybody after New York Comic Con. As I think pretty much everybody mentioned, MCM London is going on right now. So be sure that you're following Popverse everywhere possible so that you know everything that's happening and you get, to see maybe some of the streaming panels that Chris teased earlier. Very, very exciting. Okay, friends, as always, all of the stories that we talked about today are shared in the show notes of this video, but you can find full and complete details if you just go over to thepopverse.com. When you get yourself a Popverse membership, you unlock every single bit of content, whether that be written, video, photos, live streams, and so much more. And you'll be some of the first people to know about or get access to fun things like panels that we're streaming. We love that, right? Right? I know a bunch of us are going to spend this weekend playing Spider-Man PS5 or Starfield or Return to Moria or Mario. There is so much fun gaming to be done right now, particularly if you're into genre stuff. I know video games are like geeky by definition, but there's so much genre-specific fun gaming content coming out this weekend. So if you are maybe like myself and not at MCM London, there is a lot of cool interactive stuff that we can all do to come together as a geeky community this coming weekend ahead of Halloween. Once again, and as always, I have been your host, Ashley Victoria Robinson, your video producer and host here in the Popverse, a virtual realm created by Reed Pop. And while you're here in these last couple of minutes, why not do what that little banner saying at the bottom? Like, subscribe, click that bell so you never miss a single episode of Enter the Popverse. You never miss us when we go live. You never miss any of the fun stuff that we are creating for you each and every week here live, each and every day that we are out here in the Popverse. Thank you so much for joining, my friends, and I will see you next time.